Hello, everyone. Today, I want to talk about something really important: how to get better at speaking English. If you ever feel like no matter how much you study, speaking is still difficult, you are not alone. Many people feel the same way. But here's some good news: you can improve, and it doesn't have to take a long time. In fact, with the right methods, you can start speaking better very quickly. Chapter 1: The Beginning of the Journey. Have you ever thought about what makes fluent speakers different from beginners? It's not that they know every word or never make mistakes. Actually, they make mistakes all the time. The real difference is that fluent speakers are not afraid to talk. They believe in themselves, even when they don't know every word or grammar rule. If they forget a word, they don't stop, they just keep going. That's what makes them sound natural. Picture this: you are having a conversation, and the words come out smoothly. You are not thinking too much about grammar. You are not stopping after every sentence. You are just speaking. That's the goal. But how do you reach that level? Here's something that may surprise you. Small changes in the way you practice can help you improve a lot. You don't need to change everything about how you study. You don't need to learn thousands of new words. What you need are a few simple tricks that will help you feel more comfortable when you speak. So, where do you start? The first step to fluency is confidence. If you don't feel confident, speaking will always be hard. But confidence is not something you are born with, it's something you can build, and I am going to show you how. Here's the truth: anyone can speak better than before, no matter their level. If you've had trouble with English or felt too scared to speak, this is for you. We will go through easy steps that you can use right now. By the end, you will be speaking with more confidence than ever. Why confidence is so important. Before we talk about techniques, let's understand why confidence matters so much. When you are confident, you don't fear making mistakes. You speak freely, and even if you say something wrong, you learn from it. Every time you practice, you are improving both your English and your confidence. Here is a great quote from Winston Churchill: "Success is not final, failure is not fatal. It is the courage to continue that counts." This is true for learning English too. The more you speak, the more confident you become, and your fluency gets better over time. Now you might be thinking, but what if I don't feel confident yet? Don't worry. That is completely normal. Confidence comes from doing. The more you practice speaking, the better you will get, and the more confident you will feel. A small challenge for you. I have a simple challenge for you. Set a goal to speak in English every single day, even if it's just for 5 minutes. You can talk with a friend, a family member, or even practice by yourself. The most important thing is to start speaking, even if it feels a little uncomfortable at first. In the next few sections, we will look at simple ways to help you feel more confident and improve your speaking. We will talk about listening skills, repeating words, shadowing, and even some fun ways to practice. Remember, the goal is not to be perfect, it is to keep improving step by step. There is one method that can really help you take a big step toward speaking better. Many learners do not think about it, but it is one of the fastest ways to improve. Chapter 2: Why active listening is so powerful. Now that we have talked about confidence, let's focus on the first important method that will help you speak better: active listening. You may think that speaking better means only practicing how to talk, but here's the truth. You cannot speak well unless you listen well. Listening is the key to learning how to speak. Think about it. When you listen, you are not just hearing words. You are learning how sentences flow, how native speakers connect ideas, and how certain words sound. If you listen carefully, speaking will become much easier for you. It is like gathering the right tools before you start building something. But just listening is not enough. You need to listen with focus. This means paying close attention to the words and how they are spoken. Instead of letting the sounds pass by, try to break them down and understand how they are used in sentences. Here's an example. When you hear a podcast, a story, or a conversation, notice how the speaker forms their sentences. Do they use short or long phrases? How do they say certain words? How do they explain their thoughts? Active listening means paying attention to these small details and learning from them. The shadowing technique. Listen and speak at the same time. One of the best ways to practice active listening is through shadowing. Shadowing is when you listen to someone speak and repeat their words right after them. It is like following their voice closely, just like a shadow follows a person. This helps you improve both listening and speaking at the same time. Here is how you can start using shadowing. 1. Pick a podcast or a short story. Choose something that is not too long or too difficult. You can find simple podcasts or stories online. 2. Listen carefully. Focus on how the speaker talks. Pay attention to the rhythm, tone, and how they pronounce words. 3. Pause and repeat. After the speaker finishes a sentence, pause the audio and try to say the sentence in the same way they did. Keep practicing this for a few minutes every day, and you will see that your pronunciation and speaking skills will improve over time. How shadowing helps you speak without hesitation. When you practice shadowing, you get used to speaking without stopping to think about every word. Instead of translating in your head, you simply repeat what you hear, and this helps you become more fluent naturally. But here is something very important. Do not worry about being perfect. When you first start shadowing, you will make mistakes. Maybe you will miss a word, or you will not pronounce something correctly. That is completely okay. The goal of shadowing is not to be perfect. The goal is to feel more comfortable speaking. The more you practice, the easier it will become. So, keep going. Each time you try, you are improving. One of my students, Mary, was very nervous about speaking English. She was so afraid of making mistakes that she almost never spoke. Because of this, her confidence stayed low. I introduced her to shadowing, and it completely changed her learning experience. She started listening to short sentences in podcasts and repeated them immediately after hearing them. At first, it was difficult for her, and she made many mistakes. But after a few weeks, she realized that her sentences started to sound more natural. Shadowing helped her become more confident, and soon, she was speaking without fear. There is a great quote by Stephen R. Covey that fits perfectly. Most people do not listen with the intent to understand, they listen with the intent to reply. Active listening trains your brain to understand English better, and when you truly understand, speaking becomes easier. But shadowing and listening are just the first steps. There is another simple but powerful method that will help you improve even faster. It's all about repetition. Chapter 3. Why repeating words helps you speak faster. We have already talked about active listening and shadowing. Now, let's focus on a method that is very simple but can make a huge difference. Repetition. You might ask, why is repeating words so important? The answer is simple. Repetition helps your brain remember words faster. The more you repeat something, the easier it becomes to say it without thinking. Think about how you learned to ride a bike or memorize a song. You practiced again and again until it became automatic. Speaking English works the same way. But fluency is not just about knowing many words. It's about being able to use the words you already know quickly and naturally. Repeating phrases helps you train your brain so that speaking feels effortless. How Alex used repetition to speak more confidently. One of my students, Alex, had a large vocabulary but struggled to speak smoothly. He often paused because he had to think about what to say next. I taught him the repetition method. Every day, he chose 5 simple English phrases and said each one 5 times. At first, it felt repetitive and uninteresting. But after a week, something amazing happened. Alex was able to say these phrases easily and without stopping. Repetition helped him speak with confidence. So, how can repeating words and sentences help you improve your speaking skills? Let's go step by step. 1. Say common phrases again and again. Start by choosing everyday phrases like "How are you?" or "What's your name?" Say them out loud many times. This helps your brain get used to saying them quickly. You can practice while walking, cooking, or looking in the mirror. The goal is to make these phrases easy and natural for you. 2. Use the mirror method. Talking to yourself in front of a mirror is a great way to practice. Look at your mouth as you repeat a sentence 5 times. Watch how your lips and tongue move while saying the words. This helps you improve pronunciation and also makes you more comfortable speaking because it feels like you are talking to someone. 3. Combine shadowing with repetition. Remember shadowing from the last chapter? You can mix shadowing and repetition to improve even faster. Listen to a podcast or a story, then repeat each sentence right after the speaker. Once you have finished shadowing a few sentences, repeat them again on your own without listening. This method helps turn what you hear into what you can say easily. There's a famous quote from Aristotle that explains this idea perfectly. We are what we repeatedly do. Excellence, then, is not an act, but a habit. The more you repeat words and sentences, the more natural speaking English will feel. 4. Record your voice and listen to it. Another great way to practice repetition is by recording yourself speaking. Pick a short story or a few sentences from a podcast. Read them aloud, record your voice, and listen to it. Then, say the sentences again after hearing yourself. This method helps you hear your own progress over time. The more you do this, the more you will notice your voice sounding clearer and more fluent. 5. Small practice brings big results. You don't have to repeat long paragraphs or difficult sentences. Start with simple and short phrases like, I am going to the store. I enjoy reading books. Can you help me? Practice them every day. A little effort each day will lead to big improvements in your speaking skills. Some people think repeating the same words is boring, but you can make it fun. Try using the same sentence in different situations. For example, Practice one sentence in the morning, then say it again in the evening as if you are ordering food or talking to a friend. Why repetition builds confidence. There is another reason why repetition is so useful. It helps you feel more comfortable speaking. The more times you say a word or sentence, the more confident you become. When you feel comfortable, you stop being afraid to speak. You won't hesitate, and words will start flowing naturally. But here's the best part. Repetition is just one technique. In the next chapter, we'll learn how to make practice fun. You'll discover ways to enjoy speaking English every day, instead of feeling like it's something difficult. Chapter 4. Overcoming Challenges in Speaking. So far, we have explored ways to make practicing English enjoyable using role-playing, speaking activities, and listening to podcasts. But what happens when you feel like you can't find the right words? When speaking suddenly feels difficult, and you start worrying about making errors? These struggles are completely normal. Every English learner goes through them. The important thing is learning how to overcome them. Let's begin by understanding a key idea. Mistakes help you learn. One of the biggest reasons learners feel stuck is the fear of making mistakes. But here's something important. Even people who speak English as their first language make mistakes too. What really matters is not stopping when you make an error. The more you speak, the more comfortable you'll feel, and the easier it will become to move past these struggles. Don't let mistakes stop you. Picture this. You're having a conversation, but suddenly you forget a word or say something incorrectly. What should you do? Many people stop speaking because they feel embarrassed. However, the best thing you can do is keep going. It's okay if you don't remember the perfect word. Instead of stopping, try to explain your idea in a different way. The goal is to keep the conversation flowing rather than worrying about getting every word right. A story about James. One of my students, James, struggled with this problem. He was so afraid of saying something wrong that he would completely freeze whenever he tried to speak. I explained to him that mistakes aren't failures, they are chances to improve. We started practicing simple conversations, and I encouraged him to keep talking, even if he wasn't sure of the right words. As time passed, James realized that the more he spoke, the more confident he became, and those small mistakes didn't bother him anymore. A lesson from Henry Ford. There's a great quote from Henry Ford. Failure is simply the opportunity to begin again, this time more intelligently. Every time you make a mistake, you are learning how to improve for the next conversation. Use self-talk to overcome speaking challenges. If you don't have a partner to practice with, self-talk can be one of the best ways to improve your speaking skills. This method is both easy and effective. All you need to do is speak to yourself in English, just like you would in a conversation. You can do this while doing everyday activities like cooking, walking, or getting ready for bed. Here's how you can use self-talk in your daily routine. Talk about your day. Describe what you did, where you went, and what you plan to do tomorrow. Ask yourself questions. Try asking, "What should I eat for dinner?" Then, answer in English. Practice real-life situations. Imagine being at a restaurant or meeting someone new. Practice what you would say. One of my students, Alice, had trouble speaking because she didn't have a partner to practice with. I introduced her to self-talk, and she started practicing English while getting ready in the morning. After some time, she noticed a big change. Her confidence grew, and speaking English started to feel natural. Use shadowing to keep moving forward. We have already talked about shadowing in earlier chapters, but this method is so powerful that it's worth repeating. If you ever feel stuck while speaking, shadowing is a great way to push past hesitation. This technique involves listening to a story or podcast and repeating exactly what the speaker says. You don't need to think of your own words, you just copy what you hear. This helps you practice real conversations in a way that feels natural and stress-free. Start with short and simple sentences, then gradually move to longer conversations. Shadowing improves fluency because it allows you to practice speaking and listening at the same time. If you're looking for good materials to shadow, check out the stories and podcasts on my YouTube channel. These resources are designed for learners and can help you speak more smoothly step by step. Role-play difficult conversations. Another great way to get past speaking challenges is by role-playing conversations that make you nervous. Think about situations where you struggle the most, maybe you find it difficult to. Give directions. Do a job interview. Talk about complex topics. To get better, practice these situations as if they were real. For example, if you are nervous about giving a presentation, practice speaking in front of a mirror as if you are talking to an audience. If you are worried about talking to a native speaker, imagine having that conversation and role-play it in your head. The more you practice these situations, the easier they will be when they actually happen. Keep a positive attitude and stay consistent. Getting past speaking struggles is not just about practice, it's also about having the right mindset. It's easy to feel discouraged when you make mistakes, but you need to remember, making progress is more important than being perfect. Every time you speak, even if it's not perfect, you are improving. Celebrate the small wins. Maybe you had your first full conversation in English or learned a new phrase. Here's a great quote from Walt Disney. "The difference between winning and losing is most often not quitting." This applies to learning English too. As long as you keep going, even when it feels difficult, you will become more confident and fluent. Practice speaking in real-life situations. Another way to overcome speaking struggles is to practice speaking in real-world settings. Try going to places where you can use English, such as cafes, markets, online language exchanges. The more you use English in real-life situations, the easier it becomes to get past fear and hesitation. One of the best ways to practice is by talking to native speakers. But what if you don't know anyone who speaks English fluently? No problem. There are many online platforms where you can find language partners who also want to practice. And remember, they are learning too, so you don't have to worry about making mistakes. Improving your English speaking skills takes daily practice, but how you practice matters. Below are some specific techniques you can use to apply what you've learned and see real improvement in your speaking ability. 1. Practice self-talk throughout the day. Talking to yourself in English is a simple but effective way to become more comfortable with speaking. Try these strategies. Describe your day. Say out loud what you're doing. For example, I am making coffee. Now I will read a book. Or ask yourself questions. What should I eat for lunch? Then, answer in English. A. Imagine conversations. Pretend you're ordering food at a restaurant or meeting a friend. Example: Alice, one of my students, didn't have a partner to practice with. She used self-talk every morning while getting ready. After a few months, she noticed she could speak more naturally. 2. Shadowing. Repeat what you hear. Shadowing is a technique where you listen to a sentence and repeat it immediately to match the speaker's pronunciation and rhythm. A. Start with short and clear sentences. A. Repeat word for word with the same speed and tone. A. Practice with podcasts, audiobooks, or YouTube videos. Example: Paul struggled with fluency, so he shadowed an English podcast for 10 minutes every day. Within weeks, his pronunciation improved, and he spoke with more confidence. 3. Role-play real-life situations. Simulate common situations where you'll need to speak English. A. Practice a job interview by answering common questions. A. Pretend to give directions to a tourist. A. Order food at a restaurant as if you were really there. Example: James had difficulty speaking with strangers. He practiced role-playing real-life conversations and soon felt confident enough to chat with native speakers online. Final tip: consistency is key. Even 5 to 10 minutes of daily practice will help you speak more fluently and confidently over time.